Hey guys, tonight we begin medieval junk food's hidden shadows. Let your eyelids grow heavy as we wander into medieval streets where the air carries warm pastry scents, mingled with faint, uneasy whiffs from overnight stalls. These were the daily comforts, fried twists and sticky sweets that promised ease, yet whispered of deeper, oily tolls in the haze. Feel the tavern smoke curl lazily, street cooks flipping batter that sizzles with last night's echoes. Markets alive with the hum of fairground toffee pullers, their arms weary from endless sticky labors. Markets alive with the hum of fairground toffee pullers, their arms weary from endless sticky labors. Drift deeper now, as spices arrive on ships heavy with sea-damp cargoes, turning humble dough into shadowed indulgences. Millstones grind stale grains under lantern flicker, bakers kneading with hands that know the weight of repetition. In stone cloisters, monks stir syrups that grow thick in cellar chill. Pans simmer old oils through the night, families gather crumbs by dying embers, all weaving a tapestry of sweet unease that lulls you now toward sleep. Breathe slow, let these shadowed comforts pull you under. But before we dive in, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It's a small gesture that truly helps the channel grow. And I'm always curious to know where in the world you're listening from. And at what time of night. As the first gray light touches the eastern sky, the medieval town stirs ever so gently, like a sleeper turning in woolen sheets. Wooden carts rumble softly over uneven cobblestones, their wheels tracing paths worn deep by countless mornings just like this one. Vendors, cloaked in heavy hoods against the chill, arrange their wares with unhurried hands, baskets of day-old bread, jars of murky honey, and iron pots already warming over beds of glowing coals. The air begins to thicken with scents, the comforting rise of fresh dough, yes, but laced with those faint sour whiffs from stalls left untended through the night, where yesterday's fried remnants have settled into a quiet, insistent haze. Listen to the distant low of oxen, the soft thud of hooves, as farmers unload sacks of grain that carry the earth's deep, lingering dampness from cellars where they rested too long. These markets are the heartbeat of daily life, where junk comforts begin their slow unfolding, not grand feasts, but the everyday indulgences that draw weary folk from their beds. A young apprentice, rubbing sleep from his eyes, tends the first fire, poking sticks into the coals until flames lick the bottom of a heavy pan. Into it goes a simple batter of barley flour and water, perhaps a dribble of yesterday's lard if the larder is lean. The sizzle starts low, almost a whisper, as bubbles form and the edges crisp to gold. He flips it with a wooden paddle, the motion rhythmic, practiced through seasons of shadowed dawns. The vendor watches, his breath visible in the chill, knowing this first batch will set the tone for the day, warm, inviting, yet carrying that subtle undernote from oils simmered one time too many. Nearby, another cart hosts a woman in a faded apron, her hands deftly shaping twists of dough into rings, dusting them with coarse salt or a sprinkle of herbs gathered from roadsides. She lowers them into her own pan, the fat popping softly, sending up tendrils of smoke that mingle with the mist. Customers will come soon, laborers seeking a quick bite before the fields, mothers with children tugging at skirts, all drawn by the promise of something hot and filling, something to push back the morning's quiet weight. Feel the gradual gathering of shadows lifting, as more carts arrive, each adding its layer to the scent tapestry. One carries nuts roasted over the previous night's embers, their shells cracked open to reveal kernels darkened at the edges, tossed in a sack with a drizzle of honey that has thickened in the jar. The roaster, an old man with fingers gnarled like roots, stirs them slowly, the nuts clacking together in a soothing rhythm. He knows some batches turn bitter if left too close to the fire's dying heart, but that's the way of it, the edge between comfort and something sharper, something that lingers on the tongue long after. Pilgrims passing through by handfuls, slipping them into pouches for the road, their faces softening at the warmth seeping through cloth. Across the square, a pie seller uncovers his trays, the crusts pale from dough rested overnight in damp air. Fillings of offcuts, meat scraps, roots, perhaps cheese gone a touch soft, baked into portable rounds that steam faintly still. He slices them with a blunt knife, handing portions wrapped in leaves to early risers, who eat standing, juices dripping slow onto callous palms. The crust flakes away easily, yielding to fillings that carry the full weight of yesterday's leavings, transformed by oven heat into something almost familiar, almost kind. Now the first voices murmur, low and unhurried, as townsfolk drift in. A blacksmith, arms like hammered iron, pauses for a fried twist, blowing on it gently before biting, the crunch echoing softly in the quiet. His wife beside him shares a honeyed nut, their conversation a murmur lost to the growing hum. Children dart between carts, eyes wide for fallen crumbs or unattended sweets, snatching bites that stick to chins and fingers. The vendors call out not with shouts, but with gentle hails. Hot from the pan, warm your morn, their words blending into the sizzle and pop. Deeper into the market, where alleys narrow and shadows cling longer, the fritter makers work their craft. Batter thick with ale from last eve's dregs, spooned into bubbling fat where it puffs and browns unevenly. A fisherman adds tiny fish from his morning catch, their silvery scales vanishing into golden orbs that he skewers on rush stems. Customers cluster here, drawn by the heavier scent, the promise of salt and crisp that cuts through the dawn's blandness. One bites in, oil glistening on lips, the filling hot and yielding, carrying flavors built from repeated use, from pans scrubbed but never truly clean. The sun climbs a fraction higher, gilding the edges of stalls, but the core remains wrapped in haze. Bread sellers hawk loaves stretched with pea flour or chalk dust to make them last, their crusts hardened overnight into something that requires soaking in ale or broth to soften. Sliced thick and fried anew in scraps of fat, they become the base for hasty puddings, layered with fruit gone wrinkly, bound with egg and milk curdled just enough. Eaten from wooden bowls, they steam upward, warming faces flushed from chill walks. Families share one bowl, spoons dipping slow, the mixture clinging heavily, filling bellies with a weight that lasts till midday. Nearby, a cauldron simmers with mulled drink, ale warmed with spices from dubious sacks, honey swirled in to mask the sharpness. Ladled into horn cups, its sip standing, the warmth spreading slow through limbs stiff from night. The spice merchant nearby watches, knowing his wares, damp from long voyages, lend a tang that bites back gently. Drinkers pause mid-sip, then continue, the comfort outweighing the edge. As the market swells gently, patterns emerge in the junk flow. Vendors trade scraps, a handful of nuts for batter leavings, pie crust trimmings for honey dregs, weaving a web of reuse that deepens every flavor. A child helps his father skewer fritters, their hands sticky from handling, faces smudged with flour ghosts. Laughter bubbles low, mixing with the fat's hush. Laborers cluster by the ale cart, trading bites of bread-fried pudding, their talk of fields and forges muffled by full mouths. The air grows thicker now, layered with every pan's contribution, sour whiffs yielding to honeyed lift, then settling back into oily base notes. A noble servant slips through, buying gilded wafers dusted with spice for his lord's late rising, the crunch light but laced with travel-worn imports. Common folk watch enviously, contenting with twists dipped in murky mead. Hours pass in this slow rhythm, stalls emptying and refilling, pans scraped clean only to welcome fresh batter. By mid-morning, the first weariness shows, vendors wiping brows, apprentices slumping against carts. Yet the frying continues, a constant lullaby of sizzle and flip, drawing more souls into its shadowed embrace. Deeper still, in the market's shadowed heart, where sunlight struggles, the most insistent comforts emerge. Sellers of cheese puffs work here, grating wheels gone soft at the rind, mixing with barley paste and dropping blobs into fat that foams from overuse. They puff dramatically, hollow inside, even hot to chase the inner chill. A mother buys a dozen, breaking them for her brood, the steam veiling their faces in quiet contentment. The grain carts nearby unload last season's holdovers. Kernels shriveled, flour prone to clumping, ground fresh into batters that hold more water than ideal. Fried slow, they crisp unevenly, but the taste binds folk to stalls, bite after bite. Vendors murmur blessings over batches, hoping the saints smooth the edges. Noon nears, but the dawn's hush lingers in memory, echoed in every pan's persistent simmer. Pies cool on racks, their tops splitting to reveal fillings settled heavy. Nuts cluster sticky in bowls, awaiting hands. Twist stack high, salt gleaming faintly. The market breathes this junk life, day upon day, its faint sour whiffs a constant companion to the warmth, pulling all into its gentle, unending cycle. Deep in the village outskirts, where thatched roofs lean close to the earth like weary shoulders, the peasant huts awaken to their own quiet rituals. Smoke curls lazily from low doorways, carrying the heavy scent of damp wood and simmering fats gathered from seasons past. Inside these dim spaces, families stir batters over hearths that never fully cool, crafting sweets from whatever the land or market scraps provide. Honey cakes dense with yesterday's grains, fried scraps twisted into comforting shapes that cling to fingers and palates alike. The air here is thick, layered with the whisper of reused drippings, a constant undercurrent to the simple joys that bind the day together. A mother in a worn smock kneads dough on a scarred oak table, her hands moving slow and sure, working in barley flour sifted from bins that hold the faint must of long storage. She adds a dribble of curdled milk, watching it bind unevenly, then folds in wild honey gathered from roadside hives, thick, dark, carrying the tang of overripe flowers. The mixture rests under a damp cloth, rising sluggishly in the hut's close warmth, while outside, children chase chickens through mud, their laughter muffled by the thickening mist. As the dough proofs, she tends the fire, poking embers with a stick charred black from endless use. Into a blackened iron skillet goes a scoop of lard, saved from winter slaughter, rendered again and again until its clarity fades to a deeper gold. It melts slow, bubbling at the edges, ready for the first cakes. She spoons in portions of the batter, the sizzle rising soft like a sigh, edges bubbling and crisping as steam carries that familiar smoky sweetness laced with something earthier, more insistent from the pan's accumulated patina. The children gather now, drawn by the scent, sitting cross-legged on straw mats as she flips the cakes with a wooden spatula worn smooth. Golden brown, they stack on a pewter plate, drizzled with more honey that pools thickly, seeping into cracks. The eldest bites first, juice running down chin, the warmth spreading through chilled limbs. Father returns from fields, mudcake booths left at threshold, accepting a cake with a nod, its density filling the hollow from dawn labors. They eat in silence mostly, the crackle of fire and chew of dense crumb the only sounds, comforts woven from necessity's quiet hand. Nearby huts mirror this rhythm. A widow shapes fritters from pea flour and apple cores scavenged from orchard floors, batter thinned with well water that carries peat notes. Fried in the same lard shared among neighbors, they puff irregularly, hollow centers yielding to tart filling that lingers sharp on the tongue. She sells a few to passing laborers, wrapping in cabbage leaves, the rest crumbled into bowls for her own evening meal, soaked in ale dregs to soften. Deeper into the hut's routines, nuts come into play, hazelnuts gathered in autumn, stored in lofts where they shrivel slightly, roasted now over dying coals. A grandfather tends them, shaking the pan slow, shells cracking open to reveal kernels toasted dark at edges, tossed then with honey reduced to a sticky syrup over low heat. The mixture cools on slabs of slate, broken into shards that crunch satisfyingly, shared among kin as evening draws near. The sweetness clings heavy, built from nuts pressed by time, honey deepened by slow boil in pots never scoured bright. Outside, under leaning eaves, neighbors exchange wares, a twist of nut brittle for a jar of syrup, fritter scraps for dough leavings, binding huts in a web of shared shadows. Smoke trails blend, carrying the collective haze of these sweets, drawing wanderers who pause for a bite, coins or barter changing hands in unhurried murmurs. The children play now with sticky fingers, shaping dough playthings that bake hard in the hearth's fringe, nibbled later as secret treats. As midday sun filters weakly through thatched gaps, the cakes evolve. Leftovers crumbled into hasty puddings, layered with dried fruits wrinkled from summer's end, bound with egg beaten thin. Set to steam over simmering water, they emerge dense and yielding, eaten warm from wooden trenchers. The flavors meld slow, honey's depth, fruit's faded tang, crumb's smoky base, a comfort that settles deep, weighing pleasantly against the afternoon's pull. Afternoon brings the twisting of scraps, dough ends rolled thin, cut into strips, fried quick and fat skimmed from morning's batch. Dusted with ash-ground spices or plain salt, they curl into airy shapes, light yet laced with the pan's persistent memory. Women gather in one hut, laughing softly as they fry communal batches, the air electric with pop and hiss. Shared among them, dipped in curdled cream or mead foam, these twists bridge hunger till supper, their crispness giving way to oily softness inside. In quieter corners, solitary souls craft alone, an old herder melting tallow with wild berries crushed pulpy, spooning into fat for berry drops that harden chewy. Eaten by hearth alone, they warm against isolation, sweetness stretched thin across lonely hours. The hut's walls, blackened by years, absorb the scents, releasing them back in waves through the night. Sun dips low now, casting long shadows across mud floors. Families reconvene, cakes reheated gently, fritters softened in broth, nuts portioned fair. Stories murmur low, of harvests meager, trades uneven, sweetened by these indulgences. Children yawn over final bites, crumbs dusting laps, the haze thickening as fire banks low. Night settles fully, but the sweet's work lingers. Pots scraped for last lickings, syrup jars tilted for remnants, batters set overnight to deepen. Dreams fill with sizzles remembered, comforts shadowed yet steadfast. In these smoky huts, peasant sweets unfold endless, their haze a blanket against the dark world's edge. Hearth embers pulse soft, children sleep with sticky dreams, as village hush deepens, carrying us toward shadowed taverns next. Higher up the hillside, where stone walls rise thick and unyielding against the wind, the castle halls prepare for their own measured indulgences. Tapestries hang heavy, muffling sounds to a hush, as servants move like shadows through corridors lit by flickering beeswax. Here, junk comforts wear silks and gold, sugar sculptures towering fragile, pastries gilded with leaf that flakes away, exotic bites arriving dusty from distant holds. The air carries opulence laced with patience's toll, sweets rested too long in banqueting chambers, their gleam deepening into something stickier, more insistent under candle drip. In the vast kitchen vaults, a pastry master oversees the dawn's labors, his apron stained from years of syrup spills. He molds marchpane into lords and ladies, piping sugar paste that hardens slow in cellar chill, faces etched with detail from almond meal ground fine but carrying faint bitterness from overstored nuts. Servants whisk egg whites to stiff peaks, folding in imported sugar rare and clumped from sea voyages, the mixture piped into delicate nests baked low till crisp shells cradle fruits candied months prior, pears wrinkled deep amber, their syrup reduced to a glaze that clings tenaciously. Flames leap gentle under copper cauldrons where creams thicken with spices, cinnamon from musty bales, cloves sharp from damp pouches, stirred endless by apprentices whose arms ache from the weight. The master tastes, nods slow, knowing the balance teeters, sweetness masking travel's tang, richness built from creams rested overnight in stone crocks. These confections travel upward on silver trays, destined for high tables where they sit through hours of meat courses, absorbing hall airs heavy with roast drippings. Upstairs, the banquet chamber breathes anticipation. Long oaken tables groan under white linens, platters heaped with subtleties, sugar ships sailing marzipan seas, castles wrought from spun threads of candy pulled hot then cooled brittle. Ladies in velvet gowns with pearled hair lean close, fingers delicate as they break wafers fried thin in clarified butter, dusted with rosewater that fades to deeper notes. Lords sample beside them, washing gilded fritters down with hippocras, wine mulled heavy with ginger and grains of paradise, honey swirled thick to bind the edges. A servant refills crystal ewers, his steps padded soft on rush floors, trays balanced with cheese puffs risen dramatic and puff paste shells, filled with curds gone tangy from ardor weight. Eaten between jests murmured low, they yield creamy bursts that linger, richness settling slow in silk-clad frames accustomed to excess. Mid-feast, the subtleties command gaze. A spun sugar swan glides on mirrored lake of amber syrup, wings fragile from overnight drying in drafty galleries. Guests marvel hushed, fingers dipping for shards that melt insistent on tongues, sweetness deepened by time's slow work. Nearby, almond cakes layered with preserved quince, fruits boiled endless in honey till opaque, cut into diamonds that gleam duller than morn, their paste compacted from standing. Maids portion them silent, passing to hands jeweled heavy, the bite yielding soft then chewy resistance. Deeper luxuries unfold inside chambers, where tiring women craft private treats for retiring lords. Pastries fried in goose fat rendered thrice, stuffed with mincemeat of veal scraps and dried cherries shriveled black, spiced with nutmeg hoarded close. Cooled on wire racks strung across hearths, they absorb wood smoke gentle, becoming bites for velvet cushions, popped whole, juices seeping slow through lace cuffs. The hall's rhythm slows as courses layer. After roast crane comes blancmange of capon breast pounded fine with rice milk, set jelly then fried crisp at edges in sweet butter. Sliced warm, it quivers faint, flavors melding poultry's depth with sugar's veil, eaten with silver spoons that clink soft against platters. Evening deepens, candles gutter low, casting pools of wax that mirror the sweet's slow melt. Leftover marchpane crumbles into finger bowls of orange flower water, swirled then sipped, petals floating limp from prior uses. Lords slump in carved chairs, maids offering final twists, dough enriched with saffron threads faded yellow, fried golden then rolled in crushed pistachios gone soft-shelled. The crunch yields to buttery crumb, saffron's echo lingering sharp amid nuts mute. In withdrawing rooms, night comforts emerge private. Ladies share comforts from chase boxes. Anise seeds coated layers thick and sugar boiled hard, then polished endless till glassy shells hide spices' insistent bite. Sucked slow, they release flavors built from repetition, sweetness cracking crisp then flooding warm. Servants below stairs gather remnants, subtlety shards, pastry trimmings, cream scrapings, portioned for their own hall. Fried anew in drippings saved from noble plates, they transform into humble puffs, eaten round trestles with ale pulled flat. Laughter rises softer here, bonds forged in shadowed largesse. Feast fades to ember hush, tables cleared slow, cloths folded over sticky ghosts. Kitchen vaults echo with scrubbing, copper scoured half-hearted, syrup pots set to soak overnight, their residues deepening for tomorrow's base. The castle sleeps heavy now, dreams laced with sugar's persistent veil, luxuries shadowed yet calling ever back. Tapestries still in night draught, candles snuffed one by one, carrying whispers toward alley glows next. Down from castle heights, into the town's crooked veins where walls lean inward like conspirators, the alley cooks claim their shadowed domain. Lanterns swing lazy from iron hooks, casting pools of yellow over cobblestones slick with overnight dew and drippings. Here, taverns huddle low-roofed, their open fronts spilling greasy glow and murmurs into the narrow ways. Junk comforts simmer eternal, dough twists frying in pans black from generations, cheese orbs bubbling in reused fats, fish puffs snatched quick by passers in the perpetual dusk between chores. The air hangs thick, a velvet curtain of sizzle and steam laced with the deep, insistent undernote of iron seasoned beyond count. Smoke trails linger from morning fires, blending with evening's fresh haze, drawing souls who seek warmth in the narrow press. At the alley's bend, old Wood tends his tripod over coals banked from dawn, his face etched deep by smoke trails that never fully lift. He pours batter thick with rye flour scavenged cheap, water from the communal well, fistful of onions minced fine from yesterday's peels, perhaps a pinch of salt ground coarse from roadside licks. Into the fat goes spoonfuls, the pan hissing welcome, edges seizing crisp while center stays soft, yielding to the flip of his hooked blade. Stacking on split logs for the first rush of laborers trailing hammers and saws, they bite standing, oil sheening chins, the warmth chasing chill from bones worked raw. What nods silent, knowing some batches carry yesterday's deeper gold, but the crowd presses on regardless. Deeper in, where alleys fork tight and shadows pool thicker, tavern wives work communal vats hung from hooked chains over steady flames. Lard rendered from market offcuts, pig bellies gone soft at edges, goose scraps traded cheap from butcher's leavings, bubbles steady, foam skimmed lazy with wooden ladles worn thin. They drop cheese curds grated from Will's vein faint blue at rind, bound loose in barley paste thinned with ale dregs. The orbs swell dramatic, dancing in the foam before skimmed hot to trencher boards where they deflate slow, steam curling up to veil bearded faces. Eaten popped whole with ale pulled sour from barrels rolled weakly and tapped deep. Patrons lean elbows on scarred planks, talk weaving low through chew and sip, the puff's inner melt clinging insistent to palates dulled by labor's endless drag. At the alley's bend, old Wood tends his tripod over coals banked from dawn, his face etched deep by smoke trails that never fully lift. He pours batter thick with rye flour scavenged cheap, water from the communal well, fistful of onions minced fine from yesterday's peels, perhaps a pinch of salt ground coarse from roadside licks. Into the fat goes spoonfuls, the pan hissing welcome, edges seizing crisp while centers stay soft, yielding to the flip of his hooked blade. Stacking on split logs for the first rush of laborers trailing hammers and saws, they bite standing, oil sheening chins, the warmth chasing chill from bones worked raw. What nods silent, knowing some batches carry yesterday's deeper gold, but the crowd presses on regardless. Deeper in, where alleys fork tight and shadows pool thicker, tavern wives work communal vats hung from hooked chains over steady flames. Lard rendered from market offcuts, pig bellies gone soft at edges, goose scraps traded cheap from butchers' leavings, bubbles steady, foam skimmed lazy with wooden ladles worn thin. They drop cheese curds grated from Will's vein faint blue at rind, bound loose in barley paste thinned with ale dregs. The orbs swell dramatic, dancing in the foam before skimmed hot to trencher boards where they deflate slow, steam curling up to veil bearded faces. Eaten popped whole with ale pulled sour from barrels rolled weakly and tapped deep. Patrons lean elbows on scarred planks, talk weaving low through chew and sip, the puff's inner melt clinging insistent to palates dulled by labor's endless drag. Midday brings pie carts rumbling the narrow ways, axles groaning over ruts, vendors calling soft over hunched shoulders to pierce the din crusts raised blind from dough rested damp under cloths overnight, filled hasty with mutton shreds stewed prior day, and leeks wilted soft in their own steam, lids sealed pinch by pinch with thumbs calloused thick. Bake low in portable ovens trailing ash plumes that settle gray on wares, they cool lidded on slatted racks where juices settle heavy within, crust sweating faint. Sliced wedge by wedge with blunt knives notched deep, handed wrapped in rags stiff from prior oils, eaten leaning damp walls as juices seep slow through cloth to palms, crust yielding flaky at first then sodden heart, flavors woven tight from haste quiet, unrelenting press. Tavern hearts pulse fuller through the swell, benches sagging under clusters of weavers trailing thread dust, smiths with hammer calluses, all reaching for twist towers piled precarious. Dough braided loose and quick, fried coiled in fat that threads gold through spirals tight, dusted with ash ground spices hoarded from market ends or plain grit salt scraped from barrels. Dipped communal into honey pots gone cloudy from settling, they crunch outer shell fierce then soften to oily core, binding tongues mid-chew in shared, unhurried hush. Lutes pluck lazy from shadowed corner nooks, strings tuned flat from the damp that seeps walls, underscoring the chew and slurp with notes that fade like smoke. In back rooms dimmer still, where beams drip tar from roof pitch, private greases brew for favored souls. Landlords render tallow deep over low coals with herbs bruised wilted from garden edges. Thyme stems grayed, sage leaves curled, spooning the melt into stone molds carved rough for drops that harden chewy and dense. Portioned discreet into pouches of rough weave or pass palm to palm, they warm against night watches and furtive meetings, richness settling like unspoken debt through cloak linings, flavors releasing slow under tongue's press. Twilight grays the alleys further into velvet, but fires bank brighter against the chill, coals raked fresh from woodpiles stacked damp. Fritter wheels turn constant now, batter spun fine with elderflower heads fading brown from roadside jars, dropped ribbon thin to crisp lattice and spitting oil that foams renewed. Rolled into cones tight at tip, they hold curdled cream thickened slow over morn embers, eaten pinched ends first so filling oozes reluctant down waxen fingers. Lovers share one undershadowed arch where walls meet damp, the lattice shedding flaky ghosts to stones below, bites traded silent in the lantern's sway. Night thickens proper over the alleys, near empty save diehards nursing dregs at back benches, cooks scraping pans methodical with horn spoons, residues raked careful into crocks banked from morn's first base, fat strained cloudy through rags patched endless. Taverns dim lantern by lantern trimmed low, benches dragged scraping over flagstone, floors swept crumb to final fire that hisses wet. Embers guard the glow's dying breath, whispers of sizzle haunting the hush that follows. Final twists fry solitary for closing souls trailing footsteps slow, dough stretched sheer as parchment, bubbled vast and fat deep from vat bottom, folded over cheese veins grated last then have neat. Eaten drawn out over ale gone flat and warm, The layers peel endless one by one, grease memory clinging to breath till dawn pulls reluctant. Lanterns swing their final lazy sway in night gusts, alley hush deepening to ember-soft silence, drifting us gently toward fairground lanterns flickering next. Beyond the alley's clinging haze, where town edges blur into open fields under harvest moon's soft pull, the fairground sprawls like a living dream woven from lantern strings and canvas tents sagging gentle. Stalls cluster thick in trampled grass, their poles leaning from wind-whipped nights. Fires bank low in braziers that spit faint sparks into twilight's deepening blue. Here, junk comforts bloom extravagant yet shadowed, candied fruits glistening dull on skewers, barley sugar pulled endless into ropes that cling insistent, toffee nuts clustered sticky under thumb press. The air shimmers thick with pulled sweet haze and roast fat trails, laced deep with the undernote of wares rested through rainy dawns, drawing crowds that swell then thin like breath on chilled glass. At the fair's heart, the toffee pullers claim their turf, arms bare and muscled from day's endless tug, hooks gleaming faint from sugar residue built layer on layer. Molten barley boiled thick with honey darkened from cellar jars, poured hot onto oiled slabs where it cools just enough to seize under pull. They stretch it long, fold back glistening, the ropes thickening slow with air trapped deep, flavors deepening from each fold's quiet compression. Broken into shards that snap crisp then yield chewy, sold by weight in paper twists damp from dew, bitten communal as laughter rises muffled through full mouths. Flanking them, fruit candiers work skewers slow over charcoal beds raked even, apples from orchard windfalls dipped whole in syrup reduced thick from morn, pears pricked deep with cloves that bleed faint into glaze. Pulled from pot trailing strings long, they cool rigid on rush mats, surfaces cracking slight under breath, interiors yielding soft to the core's faded tang. Children cluster thick, eyes wide as hoppennies change hands, bites traded sticky among siblings, Jews sheening chins and lantern flicker. Adults sample cautious, the shell yielding reluctant after sugar's sharp veil. Nearby, nut stalls heap clusters roasted dark from overnight braziers, hazelnuts shelled rough, almonds traded bruised from merchant bales, tossed hot in toffee pans where syrup coats thick and uneven. Stirred till set in clusters that pull apart fibrous, they cool tacky on boards, broken hammerlight for sale by scoop. Eaten warm to chase the evening chill, the chew binds teeth gentle, sweetness laced with nuts mute depth from storage lofts where damp works slow. Crowds weave thicker as dust settles proper, skirts brushing grass wet, boots trampling leavings into mud. Drink carts rumble central, vats steaming mulled cider pressed from wrinkled cores, honey swirled cloudy to mask sharpness, spices from sack ends ground coarse. Ladled horn to mouth direct, it warms throats hoarse from barter calls, steam veiling faces flushed from whirl. Mid-fair frenzy, fritter wheels spin frantic yet measured, batter enriched cream soured faint, spooned over fruit slices scavenged bruised, plunged fat deep to emerge puffed gold-veined purple. Skim to paper boats grease-soaked, they deflate steaming, eaten folded whole with fingers that blacken sweet. Lovers share under tent eaves, the burst warm against chill, flavors melding fruits wilt with batter's oily hush. Spice cakes rise from portable ovens banked hot, dough punched down thrice with rye heavy, studded raisins plumped overnight in rum dregs gone murky. Baked close till crust splits faint, cooled lidded where steam settles back, sliced thick and dusted as sugar. Pass skewer to hand through press, the crumb dense and clinging, rum's echo cutting sweet like hidden blade. Jugglers toss nut clusters midair, catching clean for crowd roars soft, clusters shedding shards to grass. Elders settle benches dragged near fires, sharing toffee shards warmed palm clothes, talk drifting lost loves and bountiful years past, sweetness binding memories loose. Evening wears on, lanterns trimmed against full dark, fires fed wood damp that hisses low. Gingerbread men emerge from molds carved deep, dough spiced heavy with root grated fresh but carrying cellar must, baked flat then iced crude with sugar paste thinned water. Figures march trays upright, sold grinning to young ones who nibble heads first, crumbs dusting cloaks as they dance fire circles. Candy floss wheels turn patient at edges, sugar spun molten on sticks whittled rush, pulled airy clouds that melt instant on tongue, ethereal yet laced bass note from pan's patina. Eaten standing breathless, It vanishes, leaving sticks sweet on teeth, children chasing wisps still gone. Wheels and swings creak rhythm with chew, painted horses bobbing gentle for riders munching fritter boats, the sway blending with fair's low thrum. Elders watch indulgent, passing final apple shards warmed breath hot. Night peaks, crowds thinning gradual like receding tide, stalls emptying slow as lanterns dim wick-wise. Leftover clusters bartered low, toffee shards for cider dregs, nut scoops swapped fritter ends, fueling homeward pouches heavy. Vendors scrape slabs methodical, syrup crocks tilted last drips, fires raked to embers guarding leavings. Final skewers roast solitary for lingerers, fruits threaded tight, glazed renewed over dying coals, cool brittle for road bites that crack under moon. Eaten pacing homeward paths, the sweetness fades slow against night's deepening chill. Children clutch paper twists bulging, dreams already sweetening with fair's ghost scents. Tents sag emptier, grass-littered sticky ghosts. Lanterns sway final in wind hush, drifting us towards spice ships on distant waves next. Far from fairgrounds fading lanterns sway, where salt wind bites relentless and waves slap hulls like weary hands. The spice ships glide into harbor under skies bruised gray by endless voyage. Timbers creak deep with sea's slow work, holds heavy with bales damp from spray and sweat, unloading cargoes that transform humble doughs into shadowed indulgences whispered across kingdoms. Cinnamon bark curled tight from monsoon holds, sugar loaves crusted salt from deck leaks, peppercorns bruised black and sacks swollen mold faint. These arrive not pristine but deepened by the deep, their flavors insistent, carrying ocean's tang into every pan and pot that greets them. Dockside lanterns bob gentle on ropes tarred black, casting wavering glows over laborers who sniff hesitant at bundles pried open, the air thick with promise lace sharp. Captains pace planks worn smooth by boots salt cracked, overseeing cranes that groan under weight of spice chests bound iron hooped, lids pried with bars notched deep. First out come cinnamon sticks bundled tight, bark flaking faint from hold damp where they rested months amid bilge slosh, their aroma rising sharp yet muted, threaded with wood's mute rot. Unloaded to carts ox-drawn slow, they rumble townward, destined for grinders who rasp them coarse over market boards, dust hanging heavy in dawn light filtered harbor fog. Sugar follows in loaves tall as men, wrapped coarse cloth gone stiff from brine soak, crusted white where spray crystallized slow. Porters shoulder them staggering to warehousemen who chip slabs with hammers muffled leather wrapped, shards tumbling sweet sharp into barrels where they settle clumped. Ground fine by corns turn endless, the powder drifts air thick, laced faint with sea's mineral bite that lingers through every boil and dust. Merchants sample cautious, tongues testing for purity veiled, nodding slow as flakes dissolve insistent. Peppercorns spill next from sacks swollen heavy, grains bruised black from crush of shifting bales, mold threads faint at seams where damp worked quiet through canvas. Sorted hasty over seas rush-woven, the keepers rake clean corns into pouches oiled against further wet, their grind releasing fire tempered deep by voyage's press. Dock rats snatch spilled grains, crunching tails curled, while captains tally weights faded ink, bonds sealed wax cracked from heat. Cloves cluster in baskets reed bound, buds shrunken tight from tropical holds where humidity swelled then dried them brittle, their oils seeping sticky to fingers that sort. Pounded mortar deep with pestle stone polished, the paste binds batters reluctant, flavors punching through fats hush with spike that fades to close numb hush. Ginger roots arrive knotted wild, skins papery thin from curing holds, scraped clean to grate fresh but carrying root cellar must that clings to greater teeth. Nutmeg balls roll heavy from wool sacks musty deep, shells cracked prior voyage to check worm galleries faint, kernels pried glistening oil slick. Grated lavish over creams rested overnight, they dust gold faint where damp dulled luster, the warmth spreading slow through tongue's numb veil. Cardamom pods split swollen from rain holds, seeds pinhead small raked free to toast dry over dock fires banked low, their smoke blending sea brine into green bite that lifts sweets reluctant. Saffron threads arrive filigreed in horn boxes sealed wax thick, crocus stamens faded rust from light leaks, weighed feather light on balances brass tarnished. Steeped milkworm, they yield dye hesitant gold, tinting pastries subtle where voyage shadows muted vibrance. Vanilla pods, rarest from farthest holds, slit lengthwise to scrape black seeds sticky, pods simmered syrup sweet to deepen then discarded hulls chewed fibrous by dockhands. Harbor masters oversee blending first, mortar troughs filled corns coarse with bark curls, pestles circling endless under lantern pools wavering. The paste goes cart-bound inland, jars stoppered cork nod, destined guild vaults where it ripens further in damp stone. Bakers claim first shares, kneading spice deep into doughs rested long, the rise sluggish from heavy load. Townward the cargoes flows slow, carts axle deep in ruts salt crusted, oxen lowing patient under burdens that shift creak. Millers grind first batches lantern lit, wheels stone turning spice flecked flour clouds that settle gritty on tongues testing. Pastries emerge transformed, twists coiled tight with pepper dust pricking crisp shells, honey cakes layered cinnamon swirl that bites back gentle through sweetness veil. Tavern cooks simmer syrups thickened clove paste reluctant, drizzled fritters puffed gold where spice sinks heavy core. Fairground candiers spiked toffee pulls with ginger grate fresh, ropes stretching fibrous with roots insistent tug. Castle kitchens pipe marchpane lace nutmeg rasp, subtleties towering fragile where aroma wafts hull deep. Merchants hawk samples dockside to sea-weary crews, twists fried hasty in rendered fat shipboard, dusted pepper course that cuts voyage bland. Eaten leaning rails, oil dripping plank ward, the lift fleeting amid salt-crusted lips. Monastery brothers claim tithe shares, cloaks hooded low as they sniff pods cardamom faint, grinding midnight for syrups that sweeten prayers murmured soft. The flavors seep stone walls, lingering matins through. Seasons turn with cargo's rhythm. Winter holds bring damp deepen lots that grind sharper. Summer bales lighter but worm-flecked faint. Captains bargain fierce over scales tilted sly, bonds parchment cracked from brine. Dockside knots form traders swapping, pepper for sugar chip, clove for nutmeg grate, fueling inland webs spice threaded. Bakers evolve recipes voyage slow, doughs punch spice thrice, rested damp to meld reluctant, fried pans seasoned further from prior cargo's ghost. Fritters puff dramatic veined red from paprika traded sly, cheese orbs cloaked pepper crust that shells crisp reluctant. Fairground wheels spin saffron dust, floss clouds tinted gold mute where threads faded voyage long. Tavern mulled drinks spike cardamom lift, cider pressed wrinkled cores sweetened vanilla hulchu. Night harbors hush gradual, lanterns trimmed low wickwise, cargoes stowed vault deep where damp works quiet anew. Oxen bed straw muffled, porters slump benches ale dulled, dreams lace spice insistent. Final samples fry solitary for watchmen pacing, batter thin with last pepper dust, bubbled vast in fat deck deep, folded hulchu then halved. Eaten breath drawn over wave hush, layers peel endless, sea tang clinging dawn-bound. From harbor's salt-laced hush, where spice bales settle damp in vault shadows, the trail winds inward to mill houses hunched beside burbling streams that turn wheels ponderous and slow. Stone walls weep moss from centuries damp, thatch roofs sagging heavy under pigeon roosts that coo soft through night. Here, millers toil in flour clouds eternal, grinding grains from last harvest's weary holdovers, barley shriveled tight, rye veined faint with ergots lurking, wheat kernels dulled yellow from bin-deep storage where damp worked its quiet alchemy. Junk comforts birth in this dust-veiled heart, coarse flours sifted reluctant into batters that fry dense and clinging, pastries puffed from grains that carry earth's insistent memory, the air thick with chaff ghosts and stone warmth laced deep with shadow notes from silos that never empty clean. The head miller, face powdered perpetual like marble ghost, circles the great wheel at dawn's first gray, water sluicing channel deep to nudge veins creaking reluctant. Sacks dragged loft high by apprentices rope burned, hoisted through hatches wind whistled, spilled course onto hoppers iron hooped where they settle slow, grains clacking descend to burrs that bite methodical. Dust rises veiling lanterns trimmed low, hanging motes golden in beamed shafts slanting narrow windows grimed. He adjusts gates fine with callous thumb, flows steady to grind that warms kernels faint, releasing scents nutty yet edged sharp from storage's slow ferment. First run yields coarsest meal for peasant twists, rye dominant, flecked chaff that sifts lazy through seas willow woven, bound batters reluctant with water stream chilled. Mill hands shape hasty rings on boards scarred deep, lowered pans tripod set over kiln coals banked overnight, fat rendered pig deep bubbling welcome. They crisp outer fierce while hearts stay sodden, stacked rush baskets for market carts waiting patient. Tasters nod slow, chew testing heft where ergots whisper numb through grain's veil, the density filling hollows carved by field toil unending. Finer wheats follow, kernels picked worm galleries faint, ground velvet to dust that drifts endless, coating lashes and tongues alike. Sifted thrice through bolting cloths linen fine but frayed edges, the flour clouds kitchens town-bound where pastry arms folded lavish with egg yolks curdled gentle, rested damp cloths to rise sluggish under spice weight from harbor ghosts. Fried shallow in clarified drips, they puff hollow dramatic, shells cracking light to yield airy nothing lace buttermute. Barley middlings claim middle bins, grains polished rough to shed whole husks gray, ground quick for fritter paste thinned ale flat. Mill cats prowl vigilant, tails flicking spills that tempt rats bolder, while hands rake chaff heaps for hearth fuel that smokes reluctant. Batter set overnight deep and sour faint, spoon fat hot to emerge veined gold where bubbles trap dust memory. Oat groats tumble next from highland sacks brined faint, hold stone rolled to flakes that steam pot deep before grinding fine for hasty puddings layered fruit wrinkled. The meal clumps reluctant in milk soured natural, bound egg beat thin and steamed cloth wrapped over cauldrons bubbling, emerging yielding dense to spoons slow from bowls horn carved. Eaten hearthside where families cluster, the warmth settles heavy against winter's lean, flavors woven oat mellow with fruits faded insist. Midday sun shafts loft beams groaning under fresh loads, miller pausing corn hand to test sack bellies swollen from rain holds. Wheat gone sprouts faint at tips, rye musty deep where damp pooled quiet. He discards slide to pig troughs greedy, grinding salvage coarse for beast feeds laced sweet from prior syrup rinses. Honest flour sells weighed scales brass tarnished, pouches tied thong nod for baker carts rumbling rut deep. Dust settles thicker as wheels turn ceaseless, lanterns fed tallow deep that drips wax pools mirroring moats dance. Apprentices cough muffled through rags mouth bound, eyes watering constant yet hands steady on lever's gate fine. Night batches grind lanternlit, stones singing low harmony with stream's eternal rush, flowers paling moonlight through thatch gaps. Bakers arrive dusk dim, cloaks flour dusted claiming first sifts for dawn wares, fine wheat for march pane bases enriched almond rasp, barley coarse for tavern puffs risen dramatic. They barter chaff bundles for hearth rites, ovens shared where heat banks overnight from grain's own warmth. Twists emerge coiled spice threaded, honey cakes dense where flour holds syrup insistent. Peasant wives climb paths steep sack strapped, trading eggs speckled for middling scoops to thicken pottages fried crisp at edges. Children trail sticky-fingered from prior market ghosts, snatching handfuls that sift air further, giggles muffled dust thick. Guild masters inspect rare under full moon rise, lanterns high probing bins for purity veiled, thumbs testing stiff texture where damp hid flaws quiet. Approved lots cart slow to vaults city deep, rejected ground beast course for fairground fritters cheap. Lofts hush gradual as wheels slow sluice gated, sacks stowed tiered against rat nets slack, dust settling final motes on beams beam scribed dates faded. Mill cats crow vigilant, tails twitching dreams grain deep. Final runs grind solitary for miller's own, salvage mixed coarse to bake flatbread's hearth fringe. Top cheese rind grated and onion wilt scraps fried crisp overlay. Eaten leaning wheel hush, crumbs sifting stream ward, the chew binding days dust into quiet close. Wheels creak final turn slow, stream burble deepening night soft, carrying flour ghosts toward alehouse haze next. From mill lofts flour veiled hush, where wheels creak their final turns against the stream's soft, eternal rush. The paths wind downward through mist-shrouded lanes to the alehouse clusters that huddle together like old companions leaning into the night winds that whistle softly through their low eaves. Timber frames sag ever so gently under thatched roofs patched deep with moss from countless rainy seasons, their doorways spilling out a golden haze thick with fry smoke that clings to woolen cloaks and curls the edges of lank hair alike. Here, in these welcoming dens, the taverns breathe out their eternal junk comforts for souls grown weary from the slow, relentless drag of the day's labors, batter puffs rising dramatically in pans blackened smooth from generations of accumulated grease, cheese twists coiled with a faint spice threading through their crisp outer shells that yield to an oily, insistent heart, fish orbs snatched up mid-sip from foaming horns of ale. The air hangs heavy as velvet, layered with the constant hush of sizzle and rising steam mingled with ale's warm, yeasty tang, all laced with that deep, persistent undernote of iron pans seasoned beyond counting, drawing in laborers who slump down onto benches scarred deep with knife marks from countless evenings past, their talk murmuring low and unhurried through the rhythm of chew and swallow. The landlords tend to their central braziers with hearth-deep care, raking the coals even and steady under tripods that sway gently from hooked chains, the fat rendered deep from pig and goose drippings bubbling away steadily from crocks that were strained cloudy just fresh that morning. They spoon out thick barley batter thickened with the dregs of last night's ale left overnight, flour coarse from the mill and flecked with ghostly chaff, onions minced fine from the wilted ends scavenged at market close, dropping in orbs that swell vast and golden before being skimmed hot onto wide plank boards where the steam. Deeper into the benches, where shadows pool thicker under hanging lanterns, hosts great wheels of cheese veined faint blue at their rinds, binding the curds loose with egg yolks curdled just naturally overnight, then plunging the mixture fat-hot to puff up hollow and dramatic threaded with veins of pure gold. Skimmed onto rush-woven mats, they cool to a tacky outer shell, broken apart communal for dips into coarse salt scraped from barrel licks or jars of honey tilted cloudy from settling deep. Eaten with fingers blackening sweetly, the chew binds teeth gently at first and yields to a cream-hued richness laced with the pan's persistent memory. All talk weaves softly of fields and old feuds, all sweet and oily through full mouths bearded and flecked with foam remnants. Fish nets trail in from the Morn River yield of sprats silver-dulled by time, gutted hasty over dented buckets and dipped in beer batter thickened overnight with flour sweeps, fried into clusters skewered on sturdy rush stems that steamed gently mid-table. Bitten midway, the juices seeped slow down chins, their tang lifting sharp and fleeting through the ale haze, a momentary spark amid the smoke's constant veil that coats throats and lingers until the next swallow pulls it deeper. As evening deepens relentlessly, the smoke layers build one upon the other, lanterns horn-shaded and trimmed wick-fresh against the pressing gray outside, shadows pooling in the gaps between wide planks where drips of wax form small mirrored pools. Maids' fairy trays piled high with twist towers precarious in their height, dough braided loose and quick then fried coiled tight in fat that threads delicate gold through its spirals, dusted with ash-ground spices hoarded from sack ends or plain grit salt scraped deep from barrel walls. Dipped into communal pots of honey long settled and cloudy, they crunch fierce on the outer shell before softening to an oily core that binds tongues mid-chew in a shared, unhurried hush, underscored by lutes plucked lazy from shadowed corner nooks where strings hang tuned flat from the ever-present damp. Back rooms brew their private greases away from prying eyes. Tallow melted deep over low coals with herbs bruised wilted from garden edges, spooned carefully into molds for drops that harden chewy and dense, portioned discreetly for favored watchmen and eaten from pouch or palm to warm against the lining of cloaks like an unspoken debt settling slow. Midnight's swell quiets down gradual like a tide receding soft, leaving diehards nursing their dregs gone flat and warm, landlords scraping pans with horn spoons in methodical circles as residues are raked careful into crocks banked away for the morn's first base, fat strained endless through rags patched 100 times over and left cloudy for tomorrow's use. Fritter ribbons spin patient at the edges, batter dropped fine with elderflower heads faded brown from roadside jars, woven into lattice that spits in renewed oil foam, rolled tight into cones holding curdled cream thickened slow over morning embers, eaten by pinching the ends first so the filling oozes reluctant down waxen fingers. Lovers share one under shadowed arches where walls meet damp, the lattice shedding flaky ghosts to the stones below, their bites traded silent in the gentle sway of lanterns overhead. Pies are reheated wedge by wedge pan-side, crust refrying to crisp while fillings bubble renewed and fresh, topped with rind-grated cheese that melts into a gentle haze binding platters family style for spoons to dip unhurried and deep. Talk drifts lazy to kin ghosts and seasons past, sweetened by the persistent oily comfort that clings to every breath. Children weave under the tables snatching floor-glaze sticky from spills, their fingers sweet black as they dart back to shadows, giggles muffled and blending seamless into the constant hush. Night thickens into full velvet embrace, The alehouse near empty save for those final souls whose footsteps trail slow and heavy, final twists frying solitary, doughs stretched sheer as old parchment, and bubbled vast in fat drawn deep from the vat's bottom, folded over rind vein cheese then have neat with a steady knife. Eaten drawn out over ale dregs gone completely flat and warm, the layers peel endless one by one, grease memory clinging to every breath until dawn pulls reluctant at the edges. Benches are dragged scraping over flagstone floors, swept clean of crumbs that hiss wet into the final fire, embers left to guard the glow's dying breath with whispers of sizzle haunting the hush that follows deep. Landlords bank their coals with reluctance, crocks tilted for the last precious drips while syrup pots are set to soak overnight, their residues allowed to deepen naturally for tomorrow's waiting base. Doors latch soft against the wind's low whistle, the alehouse falling into an emberpulse hush that deepens with every passing breath. Dreams soon fill with puff ghosts and cheese melt, fish tang and twist bind, these comforts shadowed yet steadfast against the dark edge of the world beyond. From the alehouse embers fading pulse, where the door haze thins gradually into the enveloping night mist's gentle veil, the stone paths climb ever so silently toward the cloister walls that rise unyielding and ancient against the wind's soft, persistent moan. Their mortar-weathered faces, etched deep by centuries of rain and frost, hide the deep vaults where monks craft their hidden sweets amid a perpetual chill that seeps from the very bones of the earth. Arched doorways gate black under moon-pale stone arches, where candle flames dance faint and steady in narrow cells, casting long shadows as brothers murmur their psalms low through the shadowed nights that stretch unending. Here, in these sacred hushes of stone and silence, the junk comforts whisper their forbidden allure. Candied roots simmered slow in clay-sealed jars of wild honey, almond pastes folded deep with spices from distant harbor ghosts that have rested too long in damp holds, fruit comfits coated in layers thick with sugar boiled to an insistent hardness. The air clings cold and heavy, layered with the slow drip of beeswax and the rising steam of syrups, all laced deep with the stone's eternal damp that deepens every flavor into something more profound, drawing silent souls who kneel at great windows, trading murmured pleas for bites that sweeten their vigils through the long, unyielding hours. The brother confectioner, his robe hooded deep against the cloister's constant draft, tends to the cellar hearth's bank low with peat that smokes reluctant and slow, his hands gnarled and steady from endless turns of the pestle on roots dug frost deep from the garden's edge, parsnips pale and slender, carrots knotted with earth. Peeled thin as faded parchment, they blanch first in water chilled from the stream, then simmer gentle in honey reduced thrice from wild hive combs gathered in secret clearings, the jars corked tight where the syrup thickens reluctant over the quiet cycles of the moon. Lifted Dr. Almonds claim the next deep troughs of mortar, nuts traded bruised from merchant bales cracked open prior to the Lenten fast, their skins blanched and slipped away in scalding water before being ground fine with a pestle polished smooth by stone over generations, yielding a paste that binds reluctant and thick. Folded into stiff peaks of egg white with sugar chipped from sea-crusted loaves, the March pane is piped delicate into molds carved with saintly faces, baked low and slow till the shells harden crisp, cradling fruits candied long before. Quince turned opaque amber from endless boils, cherries shriveled black in syrup that clings tenacious and deep. Cooled beneath lidded cloths where steam settles back into the heart, they emerge subtle and serene for the refectory eve, broken with pale fingers amid the murmured grace that fills the hall. Peppercorns, tithed from contrite harbor captains, grind coarse to a dust that pricks the paste gentle and insistent, folded lavish where the spice cuts through the sweet like a hidden penance offered in silence. Ginger roots arrive knotted and wild, grated fresh but carrying the faint must of the cellar, bound into comfits rolled in sugar boiled hard till glassy shells hide the root's insistent bite, sucked slow through vigils long, releasing layers upon layers through a numb and quiet hush. As Madden's hush breaks the dawn's first gray light, the brothers shuffle in sandaled feet to the chapter house where sweets are portioned fair and measured, root sticks snapped crisp for journeying pilgrims kneeling at the grate, comfits pouched discreet for alms given to beggars who murmur their thanks. The abbot samples cautious with a tongue testing for purity veiled by time, nodding slow as the glaze dissolves insistent, and laced with the damp's deepening touch. Noon vespers claim the spice cakes risen sluggish from tight coarse flour, punched down thrice with cardamom pods split open and swollen from their holds, baked flat at the oven's fringe where the crust splits faint, iced crude with sugar paste thinned by water from the cloister well. Figures march upright on trays to the solitary cells, nibbled heads first amid the slow turns of ancient scripts, crumbs dusting robes worn thin by wool and prayer. Elder brothers craft their private indulgences, vanilla hulls slit lengthwise to scrape black seeds sticky and simmered into syrup sweet, the pods themselves chewed fibrous after vigil by hands grown arthritic with years. Saffron threads steep milk warm to tint rice puddings gold mute, set jelly then fried crisp at the edges in sweet butter, quivering faint as they are spooned slow from horn-carved bowls. Compline deepens the chill proper as lanterns rushlit are trimmed wick-fresh against frost-rimed panes, shadows pooling in the gaps of script desks where drips of wax mirror the faint dance of motes. Leftover shards crumble into finger bowls of rosewater where wilted petals float from prior uses, swirled then sipped with petals limp and lingering. Private cells brew their nocturnal secrets. Paste enriched with saffron rasp fried shallow and clarified goose drip, stuffed with mincemeat of veal scraps and dried cherries shriveled tight, spiced with nutmeg hoarded close through seasons. Cooled on racks strung across the hearth fringe, they absorb the peat smoke gentle and deep, becoming bites popped whole during vigil, juices seeping slow through the lace of robe hems. Refectories pulse fuller through the Compline swell, trestles sagging under trays of subtlety shards, sugar ships sailing fragile marzipan seas, dried overnight in drafty galleries. Brothers marvel hushed as fingers dip for shards that melt insistent, time deepened, the paste compacted from long standing. Night peaks cloister proper, the cells near silent save for the low murmur of psalms, brothers scraping crocks with horn methodical as residues bank for morn's base, syrup strained endless through ragpatch cloudy. Final sticks simmer solitary for vigil souls, roots threaded tight and glazed renewed over dying peat, cooled brittle for road prayers ahead. Postulant children clutched paper twists bulging, dreams already sweetening with cloister ghost scents. Vaults sag emptier in stone chill, lanterns rush sway in wind hush, drifting toward preserved joys and damp storerooms next. From cloister lanterns wicks slow fade, where stone chill deepens into hush eternal, narrow paths descend to storeroom vaults burrowed earth deep, their doors warped heavy from damp that seeps relentless through mortar cracks and thatch overhangs dripping slow. Timber racks sag under jars clay-thick sealed wax-dripped, shelves bowed with trays of fruits preserved through winter's lean grasp, apples cored hollow from orchard windfalls simmered syrup dense, pears pricked clove-deep resting murky jars where amber thickens insistent, plums shriveled black from late harvest boiled honeyclumb. The air hangs clammy and sweet heavy, layered with fermentation's soft bubble and wax melt drip lace deep with cellar must that deepens every preserve into shadowed indulgence, drawing keepers who pace lantern dim checking seals cracked faint, trading murmurs for tastes that bind seasons across the quiet dark. The storemaster, cloak patched wool thick against vault chill, circles racks dawn gray first, lantern horn shaded casting pools wavering on jars fogged inner from breath trapped. He pries corks gnaw marked with iron hooks notched deep, lifting fruits dripping syrup reluctant. Apples sliced rings simmered prior autumn boiled sugar loaf chips sea-crusted reduced thrice till opaque pearl, cloves embedded fading brown where spice bled gentle. Spoon to slate slabs cooling tacky, they harden chewy outer yielding fruit mute heart laced must deep, portioned wax paper twists for market carts patient ox drawn. Pears claim deeper shelves, gathered frost nip pricked whole clove buds shrunken tight, blanched scald water slipped skins then layered jars honey wild reduced from comb scraps, spices cardamom pods split swollen nestled between. Sealed tight cork pounded they rest moon cycles bubbling faint where yeast works quiet, syrup deepening insistent amber threaded fruit pale. Lifted skewer rush they cool rigid cracking breath faint, interiors yielding soft to cores faded tang muted voyage no, cellar damp. Traders sample cautious chin drip, the shell reluctant after sugar veil spice numb. Plums follow troughs simmer deep, late harvest bruised pulped stone pit removed boiled syrup honey thick till skins split black shrivel, floating opaque gems jar clustered. Strained cool parchment line they dry leathery chewy, broken shards for pie fill hasty crust raised blind rested damp. Eaten warm broth soft the chew binds teeth gentle fruit acid lingering syrup must. Quince pastes claim mortar troughs endless. Fruits cored grated fine bound sugar grated loaf deep reduced slow till spreadable amber yielding knife. Rolled balls sugar dust coarse cooling tacky. Stored parchment balls waxbox chase they soften vault damp releasing aroma insistent marmalade mute for bread slather hearth fringe. Apricots arrive sun-dried flat from southern bales traded sly. Rehydrated syrup spiked ginger grate knotted carrying root must. Sliced fans boiled till translucent pearl jar nestled. Cooled rush mats they tack outer chewy heart. Dipped sugar boiled hard glassy shell comfits vigil suck layers slow numb hush. Elderberries cluster reed baskets picked hedge wild mash coarse bound honey reduced peat smoke reluctant. Jars sealed fermenting wine faint where bubbles rise glass dap faint. Strained pulp cake dried oven fringe leathery black. Crumbled sweet paste pies hasty or porridge thickened dawn cold. Midday shafts narrow windows grime paned shaft dust moat dance. Master testing jar bellies swollen damp work. Fruits gone soft excess where yeast overreached. Salvaged sly to pig troughs greedy grinding beast feed lace prior syrup and sweet. Honest preserves weighed scales brass tarnished pouch thong tied gnaw-marked for trader carts rut deep rumble. Chaff fruit skins fuel peat hearths hissing damp smoke blend wax eternal syrup haze vault thick. Helpers cough rag mouth bound eyes water constant hands steady seal check. Bakers claim eve dusk first lots lantern lit. Quince balls for March pain fill enriched almond rasp. Pear rings twist coiled spice threaded honey cake dance. Barter skin bundles hearth right shared ovens bank overnight fruit warmth own. Puffs emerge hollow dramatic veined amber where bubbles trap preserve memory. Peasant wives descend path steep sack strap trade eggs speckled middling scoops thicken pottages fried crisp edge fruit chart laced. Children trail sticky prior market ghost handful snatch sift air giggles dust muffle blend. Guild overseers inspect rare moonful rise lanterns probing racks purity veiled thumbs texture damp hid flaw quiet. Approved cart vault city deep rejected dried beast coarse fair fritter cheap. Lofts hush wheel slow sluice gate saxto to ratnet slack dust final mode beam scribe date fade. Cats curl vigilant tail twitch dream fruit deep. From the storeroom vaults damp deepening hush, where warped doors latch slow and reluctant against the wind's soft, persistent whistle through the night. The paths lead steadily hearthward to the heart of kitchens both grand and humble, where fry pans simmer their old oils through endless, unhurried cycles of dawn's first gray light and dusk's enveloping shadows. Iron vessels hang heavy and eternal from blackened hooks that sway gentle on chains pitted deep by generations of splattered fat and steam, their bottoms warped and concave from heat that never fully fades or relents, seasoned with thick, accumulated layers of fat rendered painstakingly from pig bellies gone soft at the edges from market leavings, goose drippings traded cheap from butcher's scraps at day's end, and tallow hoarded through the leanest of winter seasons when every drop counts. Double. Here, in these hearth-glowed hearts of home, tavern, and hall alike, the junk comforts bubble eternal and inviting. Simple dough drops plunge deep into gold-foamed depths that sizzle a welcoming hush, batter twists coiling crisp and golden at their outer edges while their centers yield to an oily, insistent warmth that lingers long, cheese orbs swelling dramatic and hollow-threaded with delicate veins of pure gold. The air thickens gradually, clammy and enveloping with the constant pop and hush of steam rising lace-deep with the pan's patina built relentless over countless uses, drawing in cooks who stir with unhurried patience using wooden paddles worn smooth as bone from endless turning, trading soft murmurs and shared glances for tastes that bind the day's slow, weary rhythm into a shadowed warmth that comforts without question. The head cook, her apron stained like an ancient map deep with spills of syrup mingled fat and batter flecks from seasons past, banks the coals at dawn's first gray light under tripod chains that sway ever so gently with the hearth's subtle breath, ladling out oil strained cloudy. Cheese follows next in the morning's quiet rhythm, grated fresh from wheels veined faint blue at their rinds from larder rest too long, bound loose into a paste with egg yolks curdled naturally overnight in the cool air, then plunged into the hot fat to puff up hollow, and dramatic threaded with veins of shimmering gold. Skimmed carefully onto rush-woven mats, they cool to a tacky outer shell that invites breaking apart communal style for dips into coarse salt scraped from barrel licks or jars of honey tilted slow and cloudy from deep settling. Eaten with fingers blackening sweetly one by one, The chew binds the teeth gently at first before yielding to a creamy richness laced throughout with the pan's persistent memory of every batch before, while talk weaves softly of fields and old feuds, all sweetened by the oily comfort through full mouths bearded and flecked with lingering foam. Fish comes trailing from the morn river nets, sprats silver dulled by time and water, gutted hasty over dented buckets sloshing gray, dipped in beer batter thickened overnight with flour sweeps from the mill and onion skins for color, fried into clusters skewered on sturdy rush stems that steam gently mid-tray for all to share. Bitten midway down the skewer, the juices seep slow down chins and warm trails, their tang lifting sharp and fleeting through the ale haze that clings, a momentary spark amid the smoke's constant, enveloping veil that coats throats and lingers until the next swallow pulls it all deeper still. As evening deepens with its relentless layering, the smoke builds one veil upon the next, lanterns horn-shaded and trimmed wick-fresh against the pressing gray outside the narrow windows, shadows pooling soft in the gaps between wide planks where drips of wax form small, mirrored pools reflecting the faint dance of motes in the air. Maids' fairy trays piled high with twist towers precarious in their teetering height, dough braided loose and quick in the quiet hours, fried coiled tight in fat that threads delicate gold through every spiral, dusted with ash-ground spices hoarded from the ends of merchant sacks or plain grit salt scraped deep from the barrel walls themselves. Dipped into communal pots of honey long settled and cloudy thick, they crunch fierce on the outer shell before softening to an oily core that binds tongues mid-chew in a shared, unhurried hush, underscored always by lutes plucked lazy from shadowed corner nooks where strings hang tuned flat from the ever-present damp that seeps through every crack. Back rooms brew their private greases away from the main bustle, tallow melted deep over low coals with herbs bruised and wilted from the garden's edge just beyond the door, thyme stems grayed by time, sage leaves curled tight, spooned carefully into stone molds carved rough for drops that harden chewy and dense over hours, portioned discreet into pouches of rough weave or passed palm to palm for favored watchmen. Eaten slow to warm against the lining of cloaks like an unspoken debt settling. Ever so gradually. Midnight swell quiets down gradual like a tide receding soft and unhurried, leaving only diehards nursing their dregs gone flat and warm in horn mugs, landlords scraping pans with horn spoons and methodical, circling motions as residues are raked careful into crocks banked away for the morn's first base, fat strained endless through rags patched 100 times over and left cloudy for tomorrow's welcoming sizzle. Fritter ribbons spin patient at the edges of the fire, batter dropped fine with elderflower heads faded brown from roadside jars gathered weeks ago, woven into lattice that spits renewed in foaming oil, rolled tight into cones holding curdled cream thickened slow over morning embers long since died, eaten by pinching the ends first so the filling oozes reluctant down waxen fingers still sticky from the day. Lovers share one under shadowed arches where walls meet damp and close, the lattice shedding flaky ghosts to the stones below, their bites traded silent in the gentle, swaying light of lanterns overhead strung on ropes worn thin. Pies are reheated wedge by wedge right at the pan side, crusts refrying to crisp anew while fillings bubble renewed and rich from the heat's embrace, topped with rind grated cheese that melts into a gentle, inviting haze binding platters family style for spoons to dip unhurried and deep into the heart. Talk drifts lazy to kin ghosts and seasons long past, sweetened by the persistent oily comfort that clings to every breath drawn in the room. Children weave under the tables snatching fourglaze sticky from earlier spills, their fingers sweet black as they dart back to shadows with muffled giggles that blend seamless into the constant, enveloping hush. Night thickens into its full velvet embrace over the kitchens, the space near empty save for those final souls whose footsteps trail slow and heavy across the flagstones, final twists frying solitary, dough stretched sheer as old parchment from the day's last flour, bubbled vast and fat drawn deep from the vat's very bottom, folded over rind vein cheese grated last then have meat with a steady, practiced knife. Eaten drawn out over ale dregs gone completely flat and warm from sitting, the layers peel endless one by one in quiet ritual, grease memory clinging to every breath until dawn pulls reluctant at the edges of the world outside. Benches are dragged scraping over flagstone floors worn smooth, swept clean of crumbs that hiss wet into the final fire's embers, left to guard the glow's dying breath with whispers of sizzle haunting the hush that follows deep and profound. Landlords bank their coals with a touch of reluctance in the gesture, crocks tilted for the last precious drips while syrup pots are set to soak overnight in corners dark, their residues allowed to deepen naturally for tomorrow's waiting base and first sizzle. Doors latch soft against the wind's low whistle through the eaves, the kitchen falling into an ember pulse hush that deepens with every passing breath drawn slow. Dreams soon fill with puff ghosts and cheese melt rich, fish tang sharp and twist bind tight, these comforts shadowed yet steadfast against the dark edge of the world beyond the walls. From kitchen hearths ember pulse fading slow, where oil whispers deepen into hush profound, shadowed lanes twist toward guild halls where workshops flicker alive under lantern's sway and candle drip eternal. Timber beams arch low overhead scarred deep by chisel ghosts, walls blacken from forge glow and oven banks that never cool full, heavy doors barred iron hooped against night winds that moan through cracks mortar deep. Here, in these guarded hearts of craft and mystery, guild masters hoard their secrets for junk comforts veiled in mastery. Pastry shells raised blind from dough punch thrice rested damp under cloths linen frayed, sugar sculptures spun fragile from syrup boiled insistent, sweetmeat layers folded spice deep from harbor bales rested too long in hold damp. The air clings thick with flour dust and wax melt haze lace relentless with oven patina built from guarded recipes passed whisper hand to hand, drawing apprentices who kneel floor ash stirring unhurried pestles stone polished, trading oaths for tastes that bind the guild's slow rhythm into shadowed legacy eternal. The master pastry arm, apron embroidered thread faded from year's guild mark, banks ovens dawn gray first under vaulted arches echo soft, kneading dough fine wheat sifted thrice mill fresh flecked almond rasp bruised trade. Punched relentless thrice risen sluggish spice weight cardamom pods split swollen folded egg whites stiff peak loaf sugar chips sea crust reduced slow till paste binds reluctant. Rolled sheer parchment thin raised blind shells pinch seal thumb callus oven fringe bake low crust split faint cooled rack wire steam settle back hard yielding. Sugar masters claim troughs copper deep next, syrup boiled loaf chip thrice clarified foam skim lazy wooden ladle worn thin, pulled hooks gleaming residue layer endless ropes thicken air trap fold compress flavor deep in time quiet. Spun fragile ships marzipancy sail molds carved guild saint fragile overnight dried drafty loft gaps cool brittle shard break finger pale melt insistent tongue numb. Apprentices marvel hush dipped shards compacted standing paste heavy. Sweetmeat folders work mortar trough endless nuts almond hazelnut cracked bruised merchant bale blanch scald slip grind paste pestle polish egg bind sugar spice pepper coarse clove pound ginger grate wild must layered thin baked crisp shell hollow dramatic veined gold fill preserve quince amber drip. Sealed wax box chased portion discreet favored patron pouch palm warm dead guild unspoken. Pepper dust pricks paste gentle folded lavish cut sweet penance hidden spice harbortide contrite captain coarse grind fire temper voyage press numb hush vigil long. Noon shafts narrow grime arch moting dust master test sack bellies damp swollen flaw veils slide discard pig trough grind beast coarse fair cheap. Honest craft wade scale brass tarnish pouch thung gnaw mark trader cart rut rumble. Chaff nutshell fuel oven his smoke blend wax eternal paste haze workshop thick apprentice cough rag mouth eye water hand steady seal oath. Guild eve dusk first lot lantern lit march painfill enriched preserve pear ring twist coil honey dense puff hollow dramatic amber vein bubble trap memory. Barter shell bundle oven right shared bank fruit warm legacy own. Wife descend path steep sack egg trade speckle scoop thicken pot fry crisp edge shard lace child trail sticky prior handful sift giggle dust muffle. Overseer inspect moonful lantern probe rack purity thumb damp hid flaw quiet approve vault city reject dried beast fritter. Loft hush wheel slows saxto to ratnet slack dust final moat beam guild mark fade cat crow vigilant tail twitch dream craft deep. Final batch solitary master-owned salvage mix coarse flatbread oven fringe top rind grate onion wilt fry overlay crisp eat lean workshop hush crumb beam ward shoe bind day legacy quiet close. Door bar final latch wind moan guild hush candle pulse deep dream shell ghost paste melt twist legacy comfort shadow steadfast dark edge craft. Private alcove nocturnal secret paste saffron rasp fry shallow goose clarify stuff mincemeat veal scrap cherry shrivel nutmeg hoard cool rack hearth absorb forge smoke gentle bite pop visual hole juice seep apron lace. Refectory pulse fuller swell trestle sag subtlety shard sugar castle spun thread candy pull hot cool brittle finger dip melt time deep paste compact stand. Fritter evolve eve long batter cream sour spoon fruit bruise plunge fat deep puff purple vein skim paper boat grease deflate steam fold finger black sweet burst chill watch. Child weave bench snatch floor glaze sticky fingers sweet black dart shadow giggle hush blend constant. From guild workshops candle slow flicker, where oath whispers deepen into hush profound under beams etched with craft's eternal legacy. The paths wind homeward through lanes mist-shrouded to humble hearths where families gather close against the night's insistent chill. Thatched roofs lean protective over doorways low and welcoming, smoke curling lazy from clay chimneys patched moss-deep, windows shutter tight against wind's soft moan carrying distant fairground ghosts. Here, in these warm heart centers of daily life, junk comforts unfold intimate and shadowed. Poppy seed buns crumbled slow for children nightshirt clad, honey syrup stirred thick from jars cellar murky drizzled fritter scraps, fruit pastes layered dense from storeroom tides fried crisp edge hearth fringe. The air clings heavy with ember glow and syrup steam laced deep with wood smoke patina built from season's endless repetition, drawing mothers who stir unhurried with wooden spoons worn bowl smooth. Fathers leaning benches scarred knife-deep trading day murmurs for bites that bind kin through shadowed evenings into quiet continuity. The mother, shawl wool-worn draped shoulders against hearth draft, banks embers eve-deep first poking sticks charred endless into glow reluctant, crumbling poppy buns dense from baker trade coarse rye-fleck seed grind wild field. Broken palm warm for children cross-legged straw mat eyes heavy sleep pull. The chew yields soft crumb-laced nut mute syrup drizzle jar tilt cloudy settle deep. Father returns mud boot threshold left accepting bite nod silent density fill hollow dawn labor warmth spread limb stiff night chill. Honey syrup claims pot copper dented neck simmer low peat bank spoonwood carve smooth wild comb reduce thrice thicken insistent amber thread fruit shard store tithe quince pear amber drip. Drizzled fritter scrap reheated pan fringe batter barley thick onion wilt plunge fat render pig deep emerge puff gold vein deflate steam fold finger pass child elder bite shared laugh bubble low chew bind tongue sweet heavy. Preserved pastes mortar trough family shallow apricot sun dry rehydrate ginger spike slice fan boil translucent jar nest cool rush mat tack outer chewy heart dip sugar hard glassy comfort vigil nibble layer slow numb hush father mother trade glance memory season. Plum black shrivel late harvest pulp pit remove boil honey clung float opaque gem strain parchment dry leathery break shard pie hasty crust blind rest damp eat broth soft chew tooth bind acid linger syrup must child clutch sticky dream sweet. Smoke layer eve relentless lantern rush shade trim wick fresh frost pane shadow floor gap drip wax mirror moat dance hearth central. Children weave mat snatch crumb floor glaze sticky finger sweet black dart corner giggle hush blend constant wood smoke. Night thick velvet hearth near silent save murmur tail low mother scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy father bank ember reluctant child yawn lap crumble haze thicken fire low. Final bun fry solitary eve soul dough remnant stretch bubble fat deep fold preserve shard have neat eat draw me dreg layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling child clutch paper twist bulge dream sweeten hearth ghost scent. Matte drag stone scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound. Mother bank cold touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow welcome door latch soft wind eve whistle home hush ember pulse deep dream bun ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge kin. Night thick velvet hearth near silent save murmur tail low mother scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy father bank ember reluctant child yawn lap crumble haze thicken fire low. Final bun fry solitary eve soul dough remnant stretch bubble fat deep fold preserve shard have neat eat draw me dreg layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling child clutch paper twist bulge dream sweeten hearth ghost scent. Matte drag stone scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound. Mother bank cold touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow welcome door latch soft wind eve whistle home hush ember pulse deep dream bun ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge kin. Hearth ember fade pulse slow door haze thin night mist drift gentle foreign curiosities call next. From hearthside embers deepening kin whisper hush. Where door haze thins into night mists enveloping veil under thatched overhangs dripping slow with dew, the village lanes wander outward toward crossroads where foreign curiosities arrive dusty on merchant carts axle deep in rutted paths, their bales unlashed to reveal candies exotic yet mimicked rough by local hands hungry for the taste of distant lands. Timber stalls lean crooked against wind-whipped oaks ancient and gnarled, lanterns horn-shaded swaying gentle on ropes tarred black from rain seasons past, casting wavering pools over wares that blend imported gleam with hearth smoke rusticity. Sugar ships fragile from guild vaults copied in barley pull sticky and coarse, spice comfits glassy shell imported shattered then rolled local nut mash wild gathered. Fruit pastes layered foreign smooth hacked thick from storeroom quince amber deep. The air hangs thick with road dust and wax melt steam laced insistent with campfire patina built from imitation's endless trial, drawing tinkerers who stir unhurried over tripod coals banked low, trading traveler tales for bites that bridge worlds enshadowed, rustic warmth carrying the edge of home's unyielding grasp. The crossroads mimic master, cloak patched leather stiff from road miles endless, unlashes dawn gray first foreign bales pride bar notched revealing cinnamon bark curl monsoon hold flake faint wood rot aroma sharp mute thread ocean tang. Ground coarse mortar local stone polished pestle hand rasp dust hang lantern waver fold batter barley thick water well chill onion wilt mince plunge fat render pig goose deep emerge twist coil gold vein deflate steam skewer rush steam mid stall bite midway juice seep chin tang cut smoke constant coat throat linger. Sugar loaves sea crust chip hammer muffle shard tumble barrel settle clump grind corn turn endless powder drift air thick sea mineral bite boil syrup thrice foam skim ladlewood warm pull hook residue layer rope thicken air trap fold compress flavor time quiet spun local barley coarse mimic guild fragile ship marzipan sea sail mold carve rustic brittle finger break melt insistent tongue numb rustic edge chew bind tooth gentle yield paste heavy compact stand. Peppercorns bruise black sack swollen mold thread seam damp work sort sieve rush rake pouch oil damp further grind fire temper voyage press fold lavish cut sweet penalty hidden local rye fleck coarse mimic foreign glassy prickle paste gentle numb hush vigil trade. Clove bud shrunken tight tropical hold oil seat finger sort pound paste spike syrup drizzle root local parsnip carrot frost dug simmer honey wild comb reduce peat reluctant flavor punch stone air numb fade per rustic hearth deep. Ginger root not wild skin paper cure hold scrape grate fresh cellar must bind comfort roll sugar bowl hard glassy shell hide bite insistent suck layers slow local nut hazelnut wild hedge mash rough texture rustic chew bind persistent. Noon shafts oak filter moating dust master test bale bellies damp swollen flaveil slide discard pig trough grind beast coarse fair cheap honest mimic way scale brass tarnish pouch thung knawmark trader cart rud rumble deep. Nutshell chaff fuel tripod his smoke blend wax eternal paste haze stall thick apprentice cough ragmouth eye water hand steady seal trade. Baker cross claim eve dusk first lot lanternlit march pane mimic enriched preserve plum black shrivel twist coil honey dense puff hollow dramatic amber vein bubble trap memory barter shell bundle oven right shared bank fruit warm rustic own. Wife cross descend path steep sack egg trade speckle scoop thicken pot fry crisp edge shard lace child trail sticky prior handful sift giggle dust muffle blend constant. Guild overseer inspect rare moonful lantern probe stall purity thumb damp hid flaw quiet approve cart vault reject dry beast fritter local twist. Loft cross hush wheel slow saxto to ratnet slack dust final mode beam cross mark fade cat curl vigilant tail twitch dream mimic deep. Final batch solitary master cross salvage mix course flatbread tripod fringe top rind grate onion wilt fry overlay crisp beat lean stall hush crumb oak ward chew bind day rustic quiet close. Door lean final latch window moan cross hush lantern pulse deep dream ship ghost paste melt twist rustic comfort shadow steadfast dark edge imitation. Private alcove nocturnal secret paste saffron local rasp fry shallow tallow render stuff mincemeat veal scrap cherry dry nutmeg cross hoard cool rack tripod fringe absorb campfire smoke gentle bite pop eve hold juice seep cloak lace child watch wide eye rustic. Stall pulse fuller swell trestle sag subtlety shard sugar castle spun thread barley pull hot cool brittle finger dip melt time deep paste compact stand laugh murmur trade feud kin ghost sweet persistent rustic cling breath. Fritter evolve eve long batter cream sour spoon fruit brews foreign mimic plunge fat deep puff purple vein skim paper boat grease deflate steam fold finger black sweet burst chill cross. Child weave bench snatch floor glaze sticky fingers sweet black dart shadow giggle hush blend constant campfire. Night thick velvet cross near silent save murmurtail low master scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rat patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant child yawn lap crumble haze thicken fire low. Final comfort fry solitary eve soul dough remnant stretch bubble fat deep fold preserve shard foreign rustic have neat eat draw cider drag layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling child clutch paper twist bulge dream sweeten cross ghost scent. Bench drag stone scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound. Master bank cold touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow mimic door latch soft window whistle cross hush ember pulse deep dream comfort ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge rustic. From crossroads lanterns final sway in the window hush, where mimic whispers deepen into the night's profound silence under stars pricked faint through cloud veils drifting slow, the paths turn solitary toward town edges where night workers tend their ember glows in stalls and sheds lit only by fire's reluctant pulse. Timber frames lean weary against stone walls cracked deep by frost seasons endless. Roofs patched reed thick dripping dew that pools and ruts moon silvered, open fronts spilling faint orange haze carrying sizzle soft into black fields beyond. Here, in these lonely vigils of labor unending, junk comfort simmers shadowed and persistent, batter flips solitary in pans iron warped from dawn's last use, dough twists coiled slow over coals banked low with wood scraps hoarded, nut clusters roasted dark threaded spice faint from harbor ghosts rested damp. The air clings cold and heavy with pop ember crackle and steam rise lace deep with night's dew patina built from repetition's quiet toll, drawing lone figures who stir unhurried with tongs forged crude, trading stargazes for bites that bind the dark hours into ember warmth carrying solitude's insistent edge. The night vendor, hood wool thick drawn tight against star chill, banks coals midnight deep first poking branches twig dry into glow persistent, flipping batter barley remnant water chill onion wilt plunge fat render pig deep vat bottom cloudy emerge puff gold vein deflate steam wooden tongs stack rush mat solitary bite midway oil chin sheen warmth finger numb chase dark field wind bite bone weary. Dough twists claim pen next stretch remnant flour milk horse fleck chaff ghost braid loose coil fat thread gold spiral dust ash spice sack end grit salt scrape barrel deep dip honey jar tilt cloudy crunch outer fierce soft corally tongue bind chew stargaze lone. Nut clusters roast dark overnight ember hazel wild hedge shell crack toss syrup reduce peat reluctant stir pan clack soothing rhythm cool tacky board hammer break shard crunch satisfy warm chase night dew chill chew bind tooth sweet nut mute storage depth damp work. Smoke layer night relentless lantern rush shade trim wick fresh frost rime pane shadow rut gap drip wax mirror mote star dance ember central. Lone child postulant weave shadow snatch floor drop glaze sticky fingers sweet black dart shed giggle wind muffle blend constant night hush. Preserve shard store tight quince amber pear clove prick simmer honey wild thick drizzle twist reheat pan fringe puff purple vein skim leaf wrap road bite juice seep palm tang cut dark insistent mimic foreign glassy rustic chew bind persistent. Midnight swell quiet visual soul trestle sag tray subtlety shard guild remnant sugar ship marzipancy fragile dry loft draft cool brittle finger dip melt time deep paste compact stand murmur trade feud king ghost sweet persistent oil cling breath wind whip. Private shed nocturnal secret paste saffron remnant rasp fry shallow tallow render stuff mincemeat veal scrap cherry dry nutmeg hoard cool rack ember fringe absorb night smoke gentle bite pop vigil hole juice seep hood lace child watch wide eye shadow dart. Fritter evolve night long batter cream sour spoon fruit bruise plunge fat deep puff purple vein skim paper boat grease deflate steam fold finger black sweet burst chill star. Talk drift legend field ghost sweeten persistent poppy nut honey depth fruit fade crumb smoky base comfort settled deep dark pull weight pleasant solitude bind. Vendor portion fair self watch final lick pot scrape syrup jar tilt remnant batter set overnight deep in morn base dream fill sizzle remember comfort shadow steadfast ember edge world. Night thick velvet stall near silent save wind moan low vendor scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant yawn lap remnant haze thicken fire low. Final puff fry solitary night soul dough last stretch bubble fat deep fold preserve shard have neat eat draw water drag layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling clutch rush wrap bulge dream sweeten stall ghost scent. Matte drag stone scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound star veil. Vendor bank coal touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deep in tomorrow vigil door latch soft wind whistle stall hush ember pulse deep dream puff ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge night. Child trail distant home sticky dream hearth pull vendor lone ember watch star turn slow rhythm blend town deepening stillness ember soft. Lantern rush fade wick slow stall hush wind whisper deep drifting toward lantern markets sticky night air next. From night workers ember glow deepening into star soft hush, where stall doors latch slow against the wind's field whistle carrying distant town murmurs faint. The paths converge back toward lantern markets that flicker alive under moon's pale watch, their stalls cluster thick in cobblestone squares where shadows pool long between timber frames leaning weary from day labors. Iron lanterns sway gentle on hooks tarred black from rain seasons endless, casting wavering pools of greasy yellow over wares piled precarious. Frying stalls bubbling fat deep with dough twists coiled gold threaded, nut clusters tacky from toffee pull hooks gleaming residue. Fruit fritters puffed purple veins steaming leaf wrapped for late wanderers. The air hangs thick and clammy with sizzle pop and steam rise laced insistent with fairground ghost patina built from repetition's night toll, drawing stragglers who shuffle unhurried cloaks hood deep trading coin murmurs for bites that bind the dark hours into sticky warmth carrying markets unending pulse edged solitude's quiet pull. The late vendor, face lined deep by lantern flicker eternal, banks coals proper midnight under stall tripods swaying chain pitted, ladling fat cloudy from crock's morn strained pig goose render thrice boiled carrying neat mute batched prior. Pen warped iron bottom welcomes batter barley remnant thick water chill onion wilt mince spoon orb swell vast bubble edge seas crisp heart yield flip tong wood worn smooth stack rush mat steam wooden for wanderer rush cloak trail boot mud bite stand oil chin sheen warmth chase star chill bone numb field return. Cheese orbs great rind vein will lard arrest blue faint bind paste loose egg curdle natural plunge hot puff hollow dramatic gold vein skim rush mat cool tacky break communal dip salt course scrape barrel lick honey jar tilt cloudy settle deep finger blacken chew bind tooth yield cream mute pan memory talk trade feud late hour sweet oily mouth beard foam fleck linger. Fish sprat silver dull eve net gut bucket dent slosh gray dip beer thick overnight flour mill sweep onion skin color plunge fat prior cluster skewer rush steam midstall bite midway juice seep chin tang lift ale haze sharp fleeting smoke constant veil coat throat linger swallow pull deep wanderer cloak brine stiff. Smoke layer relentless lantern horn shade trim wick fresh frost rime glass shadow cobble gap trip wax mirror moat dance greasy central. Straggler child weave stall snatch floor drop glaze sticky fingers sweet black dart shadow giggle wind muffle blend constant market hush pulse. Nut cluster roast dark overnight ember hazel wild hedge shell crack toss syrup peat reduce stir pan clack rhythm soothe cool tacky board hammer break shard crunch satisfy warm chase stew chill chew bind tooth sweet nut mute storage damp work time deep. Midnight swell straggler trestle sag tray subtlety shard fair remnant sugar ship marzipancy fragile loft dry draft cool brittle finger dip melt time deep paste compact stand murmur kingos trade feud sweet persistent oil cling breath wind whip cloak edge. Private corner nocturnal secret paste saffron remnant rasp fry shallow tallow render stuff mincemeat veal scrap cherry dry nutmeg cellar hoard cool rack ember fringe absorbed market smoke gentle bite pop late hole juice seep hood lace child watch wide eye shadow dart stall gap. Fritter ribbon patient edge batter elderflower fade roadside jar drop lattice spit oil foam renew roll cone cream curdle ember slow pinch end first ooze wax finger lover arch shadow share lattice flake cobble shed bite silent lantern sway hook tar. Pie wedge reheat panside crust refry crisp fill bubble renew top rind cheese melt haze platter straggler spoon unhurried talk harvest lean season past sweet bind memory loose wanderer pull weight pleasant market bind. Vendor portion fair self-watch final lick pot scrape syrup jar tilt remnant batter set overnight deep in morn base dream fills sizzle remember comfort shadow steadfast lantern edge world pulse unending. Night velvet market near silent save wind moan low vendor scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant yon lap remnant haze thicken fire low stall frame lean. Final twist fry solitary late soul dough remnant stretched bubble fadvat bottom deep fold preserve shard quince amber have neat eat draw cider drag flat layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling clutch leaf wrap bulge dream sweeten market ghost scent sticky. Stall drag cobble scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound moon pale. Vendor bank cold touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow late door latch soft wind square whistle market hush ember pulse deep dream twist ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge pulse. Child trail home sticky dream hearth pull vendor lone lantern watch moon turn slow rhythm blend town stillness ember soft square deep. Toffee pull hook late remnant sugar barley course boil thrice foam skim pull rope thicken air trap fold compress flavor deepen time quiet spun rustic ship marzipan mimic mold carve brittle finger break melt insistent rustic edge chew bind persistent wanderer cloak. Image prompt 4. Stragglers trestles sag subtlety shard finger dip melt amid fritter ribbon roll cone cream for arch shadow lovers. Pie wedge reheat pan side Ryan cheese melt straggler spoon talk harvest lean. Vintage oil painting detail like classic museum artwork, desaturated tones and subtle grain texture, nostalgic peaceful vibe. AR-16:9. Lantern horn fade wick slow market hush wind whisper deep drifting toward dawn after feast heavy remnants next. From lantern market's final sway in wind square hush, where sticky whispers deepen into moon pale silence pooling long in cobble shadows, the first gray light creeps reluctant over town edges, revealing stalls sagging weary under debris of night's indulgence, toffee wrappers tacky underfoot clumped mud deep, fritter boats grease-soaked crumpled leaf wrap juice stain, nut shards scattered hammer broken crunch faint dawn mist. Timber frames lean heavier post-revel, hooks tar black dangling empty pans warped iron bottom residue caked, ropes frayed from lantern pull now limp do heavy. Here, in this quiet unraveling of feast's heavy remnants, cleaners move slow silhouette dawn figures who sweep unhurried brooms twig-bound trading dawn murmurs for leftover bites that bind the morning's slow rhythm into shadowed continuity carrying night's oily toll-edged day's fresh pull. The dawn sweeper, shawl patched wool thick against mist chill, stirs first coals dying ember red under stall tripod chain sway pitted deep. Scraping pan residue horn spoon methodical cake fat cloudy pig goose render thrice boiled meat mute batch prior rake crock bank morn base. Floor cobble littered wrapper toffee sticky cluster nutshard crunch broom twig sweet pile ash mingle steam faint rise yesterday fry ghost sizzle whisper haunt hush follow. Crumb pie wedge reheat pan fringe crust refry crisp fill bubble renew top rind cheese melt haze share broom break communal dip salt course scrape barrel lick honey jar tilt cloudy settle deep finger blacken chew bind tooth yield cream mute pan memory talk trade feud morn lean sweet oily mouth beard foam fleck linger mist chill. Leaf wrap fritter remnant steam mid pile juice seep palm tang lift dawn haze sharp fleeting smoke constant veil coat throat linger swallow pull deep sweeper cloak dew stiff. Smoke layer dawn relentless lantern horn shade untrimmed wick burnt frost rime glass shadow cobble gap drip wax mirror moat mist dance remnant central. Cleaner child weave pile snatch floor drop glaze sticky finger sweet black dart shadow giggle mist muffle blend constant dawn hush pulse. Nut cluster dark overnight ember hazel wild hedge shell crack toss syrup peat reduce stir pan clack rhythm soothe cool tacky board hammer break shard crunch satisfy warm chase chill chew bind tooth sweet nut mute storage damp work time deep pile sweet broom twig ash mingle. Dawn thick mist market near silent save wind moan low sweeper scrape crock horn method residue bank later base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant yon lap remnant haze thickened fire low stall frames sag. Final twist fry solitary dawn soul dough remnant stretch bubble fadvat bottom deep fold preserve shard quince amber have neat eat draw water drag layer peel endless grease breath light cling clutch leaf wrap bulge dream sweeten remnant ghost scent sticky. Stall drag cobble scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush follow profound mist pale. Sweeper bank coal touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow clean door latch soft wind square whistle market hush ember pulse deep dream twist ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge pulse morning. Child trail home sticky dream hearth pull sweeper lone mist watch light turn slow rhythm blend town stillness ember soft square deep dawn creep. Toffee pull hook remnant sugar barley coarse boil thrice foam skim pull rope thicken air trap fold compress flavor deepen time quiet spun rustic ship marzipan mimic mold carve brittle finger break melt insistent rustic edge chew bind persistent sweeper cloak dew. Lantern untrim wick burnt market hush wind whisper deep drifting toward seasonal sweets fading ripeness next. From the dawn mists gradual thinning over the remnant hush of the square's soft cobble hush, where sweepers' twig-bound brooms fade ever so slowly into the morning's first reluctant light filtering gently through frost-rimed eaves and thatched overhangs dripping with the night's collected dew, the village rhythms shift with an unhurried grace according to the turning wheel of seasons. Each one bringing its own shadowed sweets crafted meticulously from the harvest's fading ripeness that lingers, like a quiet memory in every jar, pan, and hearth across the land. Timber kitchens lean ever closer to the earth, as leaves drift gold mute, and brittle outside windows stretched with parchment panes yellowed by smoke and time, hearths banked higher against the chill that seeps relentless through cracks webbed deep in mortar walls softened by endless rains, clay pots simmer low and steady with ingredients gathered from hedge wild edges or traded as fairground remnants from carts axle deep in ruts. Here, in these cyclical hearts pulsing with the yearly flow of nature's quiet generosity and inevitable decline, junk comforts evolve persistent yet weary in their familiarity. Dough enriched with seasonal spices folded reluctant from harbor bales that have rested too long in damp holds absorbing sea salt tang. Preserves layered dense and insistent from storeroom jars with wax seals cracked faint from time's patient work. Batters thickened with ale dregs pulled flat or milk curdled. Naturally overnight plunged deep into fat to yield crisp outer shells that guard hearts oily and insistent through every bite. The air clings heavy and enveloping with layers of wood smoke rising slow and syrup bubbles breaking soft lace deep with the earth's turning patina built from nature's slow, unending repetition across fields, orchards, and forests alike, drawing cooks who stir unhurried with spoons carved worn smooth from generations of use trading soft season murmurs for bites that bind the cal. Spring awakens with a tart freshness all its own, early greens hedge-picked while still wilted soft from morning dew blanched in scalding water from the stream then bound into barley-thick batters chilled fresh and plunged into fat rendered deep from pig and goose to puff with green veins dramatic deflating steam to fold and pass finger to finger from child to elder. Bites shared with laughter bubbling low as the chew binds tongues with tart sweet lift chasing mist chill from bones stiff with fieldwake labors just beginning. Fruits bud tart from apple blossoms cored hollow and simmered in syrup chipped from sea-crusted sugar loaves reduced thrice to opaque pearl pricked with cloves fading brown where spice bleeds gentle into the amber. Cooled on rush mats strung wire to tacky brittle outer yielding fruit-nude heart laced with cellar musk portioned into wax paper twists for market carts drawn patient by oxen lowing soft under burdens heavy yet familiar. Summer then swells heavy and abundant with orchard windfalls bruised deep and pulpy stone pit removed to boil honey clung floating as opaque gems strained parchment dry into leathery breaks for shard pies hasty with crusts raised blind rested damp under cloths to eat broth soft with chew binding tooth to acid linger syrup must clutch sticky by children dreaming sweet of fairground ghosts still fresh in memory. Berries elder from wild hedge mashes coarse bound honey peat smoke jar sealed fermenting wine faint with bubbles rising faint against glass taps strained to pulp cake dried oven fringe leathery black crumbled into sweet paste porridges thickened dawn warm spoons slow as sun shafts slant gold through open doorways bringing heat wave haze. Smoke layers relentless through every season's turn. Lanterns rush-trimmed wick fresh against heat-wave glare or frost-rimed glass with shadows pooling floor gaps where wax strips mirror moat sun dance or ember central glow. Families weaving mats to snatch crumb floor glaze sticky with fingers sweet black darting corners giggles heat muffled or mist blended into constant seasonal hush pulsing like the village heart itself. Autumn harvest brings late fruit fritters puffed purple vein from batter cream soured spooned over bruise plunges fat deep skim paper boat grease deflating steam folded finger black sweet burst against leaf fall chill wind whipping cloak edges on orchard trails winding homeward heavy with baskets sagging. Mid-season swells see kin trestles sagging under trays subtlety shards from gill trade sugar ships marzipan sea fragile loft dry drafts cool brittle finger-dipped melting time deep paste compact standing murmur harvest bountiful kin ghosts sweet persistent oil clinging breath heat whipped or frost nipped. Private corners hold seasonal secrets paste saffron tide rasp fried shallow goose render stuffed mincemeat veal scrap cherry shriveled autumn nutmeg cellar hoarded cooling rack hearth fringe absorbing wood smoke gentle bites popped visual hole juice seeping shawl lace child watching wide-eyed shadow darting seasonal gaps. Pies evolve cycle-long crusts refried crisp fillings bubbling renewed topped rind cheese melting haze platters family spooned unhurried talk year wheel turning sweet binding memory loose nature pull weight pleasant calendar binding deep. Cook's portion fair child elder final licks pot scraped syrup jars tilted remnant batter set overnight deepening next season bases dreams filling sizzle remembered comforts shadowed steadfast turning edge world cycle unending gentle. Nut pastes winter mortar hazelnut shriveled bind barley coarse rye steamed dense winter puddings spooned horn family dipped snow murmured lean trades sweet belly weight dark settling profound. From the seasonal wheels turning hush where ripeness fades into whisper soft memory across earth deep village stillnesses, the familiar smells rise persistent like old friends gathering close around hearths bank low through endless repetition. Honeyed airs tying days and generations together in a comforting yet heavy pull of routine that clings to every breath drawn slow and timber kitchens leaning weary under thatch patched moss deep from rains uncounted. Clay pots simmer syrup thick from wild combs gathered hedge edge year upon year. Ovens fringe banked with peat hissing reluctant release flour ghosts from milled dust flecked chaff coarse. Pans warped iron bottom bubbling fat render pig goose thrice boiled meat mute batch prior welcoming batter drops barley thick water chill onion wilt mince spoon orb swell vast bubble edge seas crisp heart yield flip tong wood worn smooth stack rush mat steam finger pass family elder child bite shared laugh. Bubble low chew bind tongue sweet heavy memory loose season past belly weight pleasant dark pull repetition endless. The grandmother shawl wool frayed draped shoulders draft hearth. Stirs dawn gray first honey pot copper dented carved spoon smooth wild comb reduced thrice thicken amber thread fruit shard store tithe quince pear clove prick simmer low ember glow pour fritter scrap reheat pan fringe puff gold vein deflate steam fold pass great grandchild nightshirt clad eye heavy sleep pull chew yield soft crumb lace nut mute syrup drizzle jar tilt cloudy settle deep great grandfather lean scarred bench nod. Silent density fill hollow labor dawn warmth spread limb stiff night chill talk murmur field feud kin ghost sweet persistent oil cling breath repetition pull heavy comforting. Nut pastes mortar deep winter hazelnut shrivel loft damp shell crack hammer light roast pen clack dark overnight embers syrup peat reduce stir cool tacky slate break shard crunch satisfy warm frost chase chew bind tooth sweet mute storage depth damp work time deep grind coarse pestle stone polish bind barley flour rye fleck chaff ghost egg thin steam cloth wrap dense pudding spoon horn bowl family dip unhurried snow murmur lean trade sweet belly weight dark settle repetition grandmother great. Grandchild share laugh bubble low memory tie generation deep. Spring greens hedge pick wilt soft blanch scald bind batter barley thick plunge fat render puff green vein steam fold finger pass child elder bite tart sweet lift mist chill bone stiff field wake apple bud core simmer syrup sea crust reduce opaque pearl clove fade cool rush mat tack brittle outer fruit mute heart cellar must wax paper twist market ox low burden heavy familiar. Summer berry elder wild hedge mash coarse honey peat jar seal ferment wine faint bubble glass tap strain pulp cake oven fringe leathery black crumbles sweet paste porridge thick dawn warm sunshaft gold open door heat haze family weave mat snatch crumb floor glaze sticky fingers sweet black dart corner giggle heat muffle blend constant repetition hush pulse grandmother smile no great grandchild dream fairground ghost fresh memory. Autumn fruit late bruise pulp pit remove boil honey clung opaque gem strain parchment leathery shard pie hasty crust blind damp eat broth soft tooth acid syrup must child clutch sticky dream orchard trail fritter puff purple vein batter cream sour spoon plunge fat deep skim paper boat grease deflate steam fold finger black sweet burst leaf fall chill wind whip cloak edge grandmother wrap shawl tight stir pot no repetition pull heavy comforting. Great-grandfather carve whittletail legend field. Ghost sweet persistent poppy nut honey depth fruit fade crumb smoky base. Smoke layer repetition relentless lantern rush trim wick fresh frost heat shadow floor gap wax mirror moat dance ember central family weave snatch crumblaze sticky dart giggle hush blend constant familiar pulse grandmother portion fair child elder final lick pot scraped syrup jar tilt remnant batter overnight deep in morn base dreams sizzle remember comfort shadow steadfast repetition edge world unending tie. Private corner repetition secret paste saffron grand rasp fry shallow goose render stuff mincemeat veal scrap cherry shrivel nutmeg hoard cool rack fringe wood smoke gentle bite pop whole juice seep shawl lace great grandchild watch wide eye shadow dart gap grandmother no great grandfather lean bench murmur king ghost sweet persistent oil cling breath heavy pull comforting. Pie evolve repetition long crust refry crisp fill bubble renew Ryan cheese melt haze platter family spoon unhurry talk earwill kintai sweet bind memory lose grandmother pull weight pleasant calendar repetition grand bind. Repetition thick kitcheneer silent wind moan low grandmother scrape crock horn method residue bank morn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant yawn lap remnant haze thicken fire low great grandfather bank coal touch reluctant child clutch paper twist bulge dream sweeten repetition ghost scent familiar. Final bun fry solitary repetition soul dough remnant stretched bubble fat deep fold preserve shard have neat eat draw me dreg layer peel endless grease breath dawn cling family mat drag stone scrape floor sweet crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush profound. Grandmother door latch soft windy whistle kitchen hush ember pulse deep dream bun ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge repetition great grandchild trail sticky dream hearth pull grandmother lone familiar watch routine slow rhythm blend village stillness ember soft earth deep grandmother no great grandfather smile nod silent tie generation honey air persistent heavy comforting pull endless. Hush thick velvet stall near silent wind moan low vendor scrape crock horn method residue bank dawn base syrup strain rag patch endless cloudy bank ember reluctant yawn lap remnant haze thicken fire low stall frame lean hush profound. Final puff fry solitary hush soul dough last stretch bubble fat deep fold preserve shard quince amber have neat eat draw water drag layer peel endless grease breath light cling clutch rush wrap bulge dream sweeten stall ghost scent final. Stall drag cobble scrape floor sweep crumb ember hiss wet glow guard die sizzle whisper haunt hush profound star veil final. Vendor bank coal touch reluctant crock tilt last drip jar soak overnight residue deepen tomorrow hush door latch soft wind field whistle stall hush ember pulse deep dream puff ghost syrup melt shard bind comfort shadow steadfast dark edge night final. Child distant home sticky dream hearth pull vendor lone ember watch star turn slow rhythm blend town stillness ember soft hush profound square deep light creep dawn first. Candle flicker fade wick slow stall hush wind whisper deep final drifting toward sleep where fires dim markets empty nights quiet comforts meld dreams sweet unease lulling heavy eyelids toward rest profound. Let eyelids grow heavier now. Markets empty silent carts creak no more pans hang quiet residue caked fires dim ember red faint coals settle ash soft nights quiet comforts honeyed oily shadowed melt away into dreams where sweet unease lulls gentle pulling under sleep's deep embrace breathes slow drift off surrounded sweetness fading hush profound good night.